So along with people in Canada, the Canadian citizens actually being told that they are possibly prepping for WAR with the United States, something that we're not really hearing about in the media, so we don't know what to expect. There have been a lot of people reporting that WAR with China is inevitable. I don't necessarily know if that's true, but a lot of people have been talking about the exercises that they're holding in preparation for such an event. And recently it was reported that Dumpy has denied Muskrat to be briefed on that top secret plan. Apparently the Pentagon excluded him from that briefing, which obviously is a good thing, because he is an unelected official who is not part of the government. And the funny thing is, this video is entirely not about that plan or the operations and exercises they are performing, because I don't really know the ins and outs of that. But they are saying the reason they excluded Musk from it is because, according to the New York Times report, the briefing would include 20 to 30 slides that lay out how the U.S. would go against a conflict with China. Which the White House totally denies, of course, but we can't believe anything they say anyway. The thing that sticks out the most to me, which is hilarious, is that they say the White House has previously said that Muskrat will recuse himself if any conflicts of interest arise between his business dealings and his role in cutting federal government spending. Those conflicts have already happened. One of the things he is literally doing is cutting federal contracts to people. He also has federal contracts, so he is cutting out his business competitors. That is a direct conflict of interest. He is literally getting to decide who gets government contracts and who gets them cut, which benefits him. Case in point, what came up last month when Marco Rubio's State Department supposedly approved $400 million in buying armored Cybertrucks. So you cancel contracts to other people, and then you get the State Department to buy $400 million of your own product? That is a fucking conflict of interest. And yet there are so many people on the right who are completely defending him for all of the supposed cutting he's doing, when they're actually not finding any cuts or any fraud like they report they are. They're putting up bullshit reports of fake numbers, and in his claim that he wants to chop $500 billion from Social Security, he's claiming that they're finding that people who are over 200 years old are still receiving Social Security checks, which is a blatant lie. They're not. But this is a lot like in 2020, remember, when they said they found tons of fraud that they couldn't show you or they somehow couldn't produce, but it was totally real, even though it never showed up? This is the exact same thing. He's claiming that he's finding billions of dollars in fraud and waste, but really he's just chopping people's benefits, cutting people's contracts and grants, and taking the American people's personal information. To the point where they recently said that if they were denied personal access to people's Social Security information, that they would shut down Social Security. They don't care about finding fraud or cutting waste. They're basically chopping spending that is pennies under the couch, which is not going to make a dent in any kind of deficit, just so they can justify extending their tax cuts for the wealthy. That is the only reason they are doing any of this. And as soon as they're done doing all the chopping and people have lost their insurance, their health care, their benefits, and veterans are tossed out onto the street, that's when they're going to deploy their tax plan of once again cutting double digits off of the percentage of taxes for the rich, and they're going to raise taxes on the rest of us. Just like they did in 2017. Why do people still support them?